Welcome to another session of the PMDG MD11 training from Angle of Attack. This section we will cover an engine failure on takeoff roll before 80 knots and a subsequent abort. The low momentum and airflow over the rudder means that a shift in thrust could send us off the runway in just seconds, so be ready to get on that rudder. As usual for takeoff, advance thrust levers to 70% N1 and stabilize. All systems are a go, so press auto flight on the FCP and push the throttles forward manually to set takeoff thrust. We are now at a high thrust output. The loss of 60,000 odd pounds of thrust from either wing will have a big effect if that was to go away at this low speed. So, engine failure, abort takeoff. Pull thrust levers to idle and apply maximum manual braking. Use plenty of rudder and nose wheel steering for directional control and try to keep the aircraft on centerline. Bring the aircraft to a halt and bring up the configuration page on the SD. Brake temps read low at this point, but will increase as the thermal energy spreads through the brake assemblies to the sensors. It takes a few minutes. Now, at these low speeds, you should not be seeing exceptionally hot brake temperatures anyway, but it is still something to remain aware of just in case. So let's have a look at the brake temperatures. 1 minute after stopping. 2 minutes after stopping. And 3 minutes after stopping. The hottest brake peaks here at 100 degrees Celsius about 3.5 minutes after we stop the aircraft. The temperature rise is much more pronounced on the high-speed abort, which you will see later, but this is still something that I would be cautious about as a pilot. A rejected takeoff for an engine failure at low speed is definitely not easy, but if you were prepared for it in this situation when the engine went out because we knew it was going to go out, you would be prepared. But the CF6 powered MD11 puts out 61,500 pounds of thrust per engine. Losing either engine in 1 or 3 gives us a lot of asymmetrical thrust, or thrust that acts in the opposite direction. In an abort below 80 knots, we do not have the luxury of RTO auto brakes, so we must brake manually. Now, RTO auto brakes are rejected takeoff auto brakes, and those occur during a rejected takeoff over 80 knots. So the spoilers will also not deploy automatically below 80 knots unless reverse thrust is used. In our case, we chose to use wheel braking only, as reverse thrust would have been relatively ineffective below 80 knots, and we did not want the uneven thrust even more so. So that's what makes this procedure particularly dangerous, is we don't have those safety mechanisms in place to slow down the aircraft automatically. It is all automatic, and it's a surprise. So that does it for this session. In the next session, we will be doing the high-speed abort, which is much more intense and perhaps the most dangerous procedure you will do in this MD11. Until then, throttle on.